So the first question for you here tonight, which many in the audience are probably wondering, is what are these compressed air systems that Enersize is making so efficient?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. It's actually quite boring engineering stuff, and it's actually really bad stuff. You find compressed air systems in all factories almost. 90% of the factories have them, and they're used everywhere. It's a very convenient tool for engineers to get robots to grab things in the car factories. They can sort things by blowing air on them. So basically, it's used everywhere for a lot of engineering stuff in the production systems. It's also really, really, really bad. If you can replace a compressed air-driven drive with an electric motor, you can do it 20 times more efficient. So lazy engineers and difficult engineering problems is what it's used for in these manufacturing plants. And basically, it's just air, like this one, that you compress to high pressure, like 6 or 7 bars. That's 6 or 7 times more pressure than we have here. It's like 60 or 70 meters down in the water. And in these really big factories, they have compressors that basically is like a half jet engine from an aeroplane. So they cut the engine, and instead of putting fuel into it, they put a big electric motor into it. And that could be like a 1 megawatt motor that compresses this air in this factory. And we have customers that have like 10 of these in a row. So it's incredible amounts of energy goes into that. We have customers who have energy bills of $7 million each year just for compressed air.
It's hard to get your head around, actually. It's kind of almost too big to fathom.
Yeah, I think nobody got anything about what the compressed air system is, that except it's used for everything you have at home. Everything has been using compressed air to be manufactured.
And one of the big problems, our CEO, Big Air, wrote a really cool article about this, about the kind of energy use in different markets and how that impacts the environmental impact of a manufacturing plant. So, for example, in Sweden, there's a lower carbon impact as there is in China. This is obviously a big part of Energize's play here as a clean tech company. Can you explain a bit more for everyone here about the environmental impact?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talk as much of like an energy efficiency company. Basically, the customers we go to, we make their compressed air system so much better that actually they could give us the money for the energy saved. So we can give them a better system for free. And of course, when you save energy, you save a lot of carbon dioxide. And especially in China, where we are, that's very high up on the agenda to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. Yeah. And like you said, the difference in Sweden, for example, every kilowatt hour is about 40 grams of carbon dioxide. In China, it's 750 grams. And then they've done a lot, because in the last 5 years or so, they've gone down from a kilo CO2 on each kilowatt hour saved. And Finland is somewhere in the middle, I think 260 or something like that, gram per kilowatt hour.
It's quite a big difference. And I mean, I'll warn everyone here that there are questions that you can ask about this. Yeah, it's quite an amazing company. How quickly are the paybacks for some of these manufacturing plants when they install? When do they make their money back on the installation?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, basically there are some paybacks that go in by minutes. Actually, when we come to the factory, sometimes we do things that directly save a couple of % on the total consumption. But usually we're talking about like 3-month payback.
3 months?
Yeah.
Not exactly a long time by anyone's
not by any means.
Expectations.
No.
So, Energize is investigating an IPO. This was a press release that came out maybe 2 weeks ago now, more or less. Are there any developments on this which you can actually share with us today, or what's kind of the plan moving forward for Energize?
Yeah, I can. I don't have so much new things to share here, unfortunately.
I can only try.
You can only try to get some information out of me. But that's one of the reasons why I'm in Energize, because that's going to be my task to bring Energize into an IPO during 2017. And I spent the last month to negotiate with several investment banks to help us do the IPO. And we got a very positive response. I think like 80% of the bank wanted to do this with us. So we're down to that we ourselves have chosen which banks we think is the best one to go. So we're in negotiation with them, and I hope really soon that we can come out with some news on which bank we have chosen and how we go into the IPO. And we're also going to do a pre-IPO that the estimate is to start quite soon as we choose in the bank. And that one will be a public placement. So if anyone is interested in coming and investing in Enersize, you can come to me and I will feed you to the investment bank that we will shortly present.
Great, very good news. Any audience questions? Is there anyone who has any burning questions for Enersize and their work making some serious manufacturing more efficient?
Yeah, we do exactly like Rescue. Yeah. So they sent out some free food. We're sending out free air. So, so anyone want air for the next hour? You put a question on the mic.
Any questions for Enersize? Yeah, we got one over here. We need a microphone in the audience. Where's the mic man? Yeah, just yell. I'll repeat.
So I was just thinking, like, you have a really solid business case, and for example, in China, you have a lot of like opportunities, a lot of like positive companies. But why don't we see just like rapid growth in your business there? Because you have really proved that your system works. But what are like the biggest barriers there?
I'll repeat that. So why hasn't there been more rapid growth now? Because the business case is so strong.
I was checking your business a lot, and I didn't find any like the major reason why you are not receiving more orders from the potential buyers.
Okay. So why aren't you receiving more orders from potential buyers? Why isn't this happening
No,
quicker?
it's a really good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I would say that we are actually getting those orders. But if you look at how you do business in China, it's very much about relations. So it takes a long time to build those relations. We have Sami Mykkänen, who is the CEO of Enersize, who's working the market in China, and I think he's a really good guy in doing this. But still, it has taken a long time to really get the concept right. You go to these customers and they say, yes, we want to do that. And then suddenly you end up and they say, oh, could you do a risk analysis of this, for example? Could you do a risk analysis of that? What is the impact of this and that? And suddenly you have to start producing documents and prove these concepts. So, I mean, if we look a year back, I think I think it took 3 years from the first offer till we actually made some savings for the first customer. The last customer we signed on, I think that period was 3 to 4 months. So it's going quicker and quicker. If you look at the beginning of the year until now, the pipeline of projects we have is 3 times bigger. So I think we have something around 55 million euro in savings in the pipeline at the moment. So it's kind of this catch-up effect. So we're really closing in deals now. We came out with news last week, I think it was, that we closed this first deal in the Chinese glass industry with another player. And I really hope we can come out with more news about new contracts here. So I think we are at the kind of a turning point here. I hope that was a good answer to your question. Thanks.
Great. Are there any other questions in the audience? Anyone else with a question for Enersize?
Not even someone from
Here we go.
Invest?
Yeah, this young lady. There we go. Microphones help.
Hello, can you hear me? I was just wondering, despite the Chinese market, do you have other markets in mind? I mean, it's quite gambling, just putting into one big market.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, we ended up in China a little by windfall. It's a very good market on many occasions. The compressed air system is very undermanaged in that area. It's very big factories with very big savings once you come into them and do the project. But yes, definitely, we have talks going on in Germany, for example. Have some initial talks in the US. And what we're doing now, one of the reasons why we go into the IPO is to bring in money to make our software to a much more automated, smart software, which we can distribute to distributors all over the world who can actually go in and install it at the factories, start up the software and start getting savings without our expert needing to go there. So we have, I mean, the idea of what we want to do is to become the de facto software for managing compressed air systems all over the world. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing the IPO, to bring in the money to make that software really good enough to be able to be rolled out globally.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Christian.
Thank you very much, Joshua.
You're not just full of
You're-
hot air like everyone says. So.
No, I'm a little surprised you didn't point out Cleantech Invest people here to answer some leading questions, but I think it's better with the real questions,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. So
thank you
thank you
very
for the
much.
questions, everyone, too. Take it away, band.